Thank you, the organizers, to invite me to such an interesting opportunity. And I think that it was very clear from the presentations before that one of the major issues being discussed today is why the nautical tourism industry should care about sustainability and more how companies can contribute to the sustainability of our society and our environment. So I think that these are the key issues, one of the key issues, but I was very pleased that the issue emerged in a very direct way. A few words about what I'm doing, the network I belong to. I'm professor of business administration at the University of Siena in Italy, and I'm chair of SDSN for the Mediterranean. SDSN is a network led by Jeffrey Sachs from Columbia University, and it is made up of 35 networks, sub-networks, more than 1,200 members, and more than 100 countries are represented. And we try to promote solutions, concrete solutions, based upon research, innovation. So basically, our members are universities, research centers, all focused on the issue of how to contribute to sustainable society. And we played a role also in the definition of Agenda 2030. So in the Mediterranean, we have prepared a report on how the countries are in line with Agenda 2030. And you can imagine that we are lagging behind, and there are many criticalities. These criticalities, of course, are also related to the SDGs, to the issues which concern our sector, the boat and nautical sector. I don't want to spend time on it because many words were said today. I just mentioned that for SDG 14, we are really in a bad situation, and there are only a couple of countries which are doing slightly better in terms of performance. So my presentation is not on the situation, because we are all aware that the situation is a very critical situation. I would like to underscore that it's very critical, but I want to say a few words on the fact that the situation is critical. The Mediterranean, after the Arctic, is probably the area more vulnerable. On top of it, we have also the impact of mass tourism. And there are some cases, like the case of emissions of sulfur oxide and nitrogen oxide, that are released by cruises, which are really even more important, even more dangerous than all the cars of single countries. There are many studies on it. I don't want to focus on it, but just to say that the sector is a sector under major threats in terms of sustainability. So the issue is, why should business be actively engaged in the implementation of Agenda 2030? And the previous panel was very interesting, and they were saying very direct things about some of these reasons. I would like to remind some of them. And for instance, the first one is because it is fair, because we think that it's good for our communities and the environment. And if we don't do it, we are under major operational and reputation risks, and this was said before. Also, there are major regulations, and we need to comply with the regulations. But the second point, which is making sustainability so important for companies, is that there are, as it was said, changes in consumers' attitude, and it was clearly said. Maybe it was not said in the same clear way that investors are showing more and more interest for business which are responsible, we care about sustainability. And I think that the call by Massimo Perotti for greater dimensions, for a growth of the sector, also relies upon external investors, which now more than ever prefer responsible business. Another reason is that we can save financial and natural resources through more sustainable behavior. The third point, maybe was not mentioned before, if you are sustainable, you keep and attract talents. And again, according to what Paolo Vitelli and Massimo Perotti said before, we need to attract talents. Also, there are other major advantages, like to have a a better governance because we become more transparent, more diverse, and we have more reliable reports. I am in the board of a bank, and I see that sustainability is also very useful for better risk management. So this is key. This is key. Companies should do more because it is good for society, but also it is good for them, for their long-term life, so long-term sustainability. But how companies can contribute to that? I mentioned 4 proposals. One, of course, is what it was said before, new technological solutions. But I really like the idea that before it was said clearly that we need not only technological solutions. Too often, to contribute to sustainability, we refer to technological solutions. But also organizational solutions are very important in terms, for instance, of dimensions, in terms of new mindset, in terms of new skills, but also in terms of new ways of putting together the factors. So we need innovation, but not only technological. Also organizational solutions are very, very important. The second key issue is we need more precise measurements. We at SDSN, we are working on different sectors, and we see that really responsible managers, really responsible firms say that if measurements are more precise, I will be more involved. I will work harder on sustainability. So when we look at sustainability, according to our framework, you should look at 4 pillars, 4 dimensions. This is a framework that is used in different sectors to work on these issues. So first of all, our products should be sustainable, but also our strategies should be sustainable. Secondly, we need to look at the sustainability of the way we do our production practices, sustainability of supply chain, it was mentioned before, but also we need to be a good corporate citizen. So when we look at the issues of sustainability, we can classify solutions and we can classify measurements according to these 4 pillars. So how companies can contribute? Technological organizational solutions, more precise measurements, but more sharing and valorizing good practices. We are doing that, for instance, in the food sector. We are collecting good practices, putting in a digital support, and to share among actors. Emulation is a more powerful mechanism of change among business. So sharing and valorizing good practices is the third important way to be more sustainable. The fourth, it was mentioned, I would like to underscore it, partnerships. And I make reference, of course, to SDG number 17. We tend to overlook SDG number 17, but it is one of the most important, because in order to deal with major challenges in front of us, we need to work with others, alliances, and putting together companies, maybe also in different sectors, and putting together companies with research centers. So I think that there are major problems in front of us, but I think that the panels we saw before and the contributions by major actors give, I think, a signs of hope for the future. There is a long way to go, but the sector, I think, could be in line with better societies and more sustainable environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Angelo. Yes, perché no? Thank you.